Hi everybody, it's Annette from the Art of Intuition. And today we are going to talk about how did it go this year? What did we accomplish this year? And I know you might be thinking, it's October, we still got 3 more months. Technically, we've already started 2026. Energetically, we've already had the templates in for 2026, really since the summer. By the summer, you should have been seeing, you were seeing, whether you're consciously picking up on them or not, how your 2026 is going to lay out, what you're going to be more focused on, right? And if you look back to the end of 2024, I will guarantee you could have seen how 2025 was going to play out. Usually when you go back and look in hindsight, it's easier to see what's going on. So everyone's always like, oh, what's the future hold? It's right there. It's literally laid out in front of us, and we just, in our human consciousness, we just don't see it. We just don't, we don't see the signs, we don't really tap into it the way that we do later on. So as we're starting to wrap up, and that doesn't mean you'll finish everything. Like, I still have a couple things I need to put a pin in before the end of the year, and sometimes because there's no, even though every year has a certain cadence, we don't really go with a linear year calendar. Like in the summer, you'll start to see what it's going to be like. You might actually start doing some things, start energetically preparing or getting some research done or getting some of the prep work done, but you might not have boots on the ground until March or April of the following year. When you actually start doing it, bringing it, anchoring it in is what people, creating that reality. You might not actually start that until, spring of 2026. And then you'll be wrapping it up usually by the fall. And you might have a couple other things to do, and sometimes you bleed over. Like I can remember last year, pretty much every year I might have a couple things bleed over into the new year. So you're kind of prepping, you're finishing up some stuff that was tied up in that really dominant energy the year before, and you're also starting the prepping of what's going to be dominant of the energy for the upcoming year. So I kind of wanted to take today to kind of go back and everyone kind of look at what was your year about? What was the theme of the year? And what were you trying to make it be? And it just wasn't that. I know I always want to be producing content, right? That's just part of that is still my human coming in going, oh, you got to produce more stuff, do a class, do more videos, do this, do that, do that. But even my live stuff, it just did not work out for 2025 that way. I did a lot less stuff. I had a lot less time to do it. And I was focused on and more excited about beautification stuff. I did so much remodeling of the house. I did a lot of stuff outside, and because we don't outsource that much. You're going to start to notice you kind of want to do stuff yourself. You have that creation energy to do it yourself. You might want to paint that wall. I built a loft. I painted a wall. I redid all the house ornaments outside. I planted grass 2 times in the spring and in the fall. I redid the wall outside. I don't know if you can't see it in this, but I stained and dry brushed a wall outside. I can go on and on and on and on of all the stuff I did this year. And some stuff I did have other people do because I just didn't have the manpower, I guess, to do it on my own. But 85% of it I did on my own. And that was my year. And we can look at beautification and say, well, that's not, in our human consciousness, you're going to look at when you have a year like that. And it might not be beautification, it might be something else. But because it's not a tangible thing, your human will look at and go, oh, look what you did this year. As far as purpose or job, you would think you didn't get much done. And everything I wanted to do, it couldn't really work out. But all the other stuff, I was much more excited about. I wanted to do that stuff. Because your body is always going to go toward raising its vibration. That is really all ascension is. In a sense, everything else we do, the sharing we do, it's to assist others in raising their vibration. But that is the end goal, to get your body vibration to a point where it can exist in higher ascended realities that you're anchoring in on, in this body. It's to get your body vibration up where you can leave all the human consciousness stuff behind, and your body's vibration has to be up so you can embody in your aspects, but you have to have your body vibration up. You will notice your universe will not compromise on your body vibration. It might compromise on what work you're going to do year after year, but it's going to prioritize your body's vibration overall. So you might look at beautification and what I focused on last year, or this 2025. If I even look back in 2024, I can see all the clues that were there, and I just didn't put it together until maybe the last 2 months. I look back and go, because I was kind of doing a year review, because I'm kind of already, like I said, 2026 templates are already here, and I was like, oh, I don't feel like I did much. And then I started looking at all the stuff I did do, but because it was not what I felt like I should be doing, I was negating it, that it wasn't important. But then body vibration keeps coming in super strong, because if we do not have an area that supports our vibration to get higher and higher and higher, we cannot continue ascending our body vibration. Your surroundings are going to become some of the most crucial things in your ascended realities, because it has to be at a certain vibration. You can't have the clutter. Everything you have has to be at a certain vibration. You can't have things that are at a different vibration that are going to weigh you down to an old reality. It all has to be transformed. And normally, because we don't have, our universe usually makes us do a lot of this stuff ourselves in the beginning, because it wants us to experience it. You know, you go out and paint that wall. You go out and do that. Whereas you see a lot of humans that go, I'm going to hire someone to do that. I'm going to hire someone to do that, because they don't want to actually get in there and do it. Your universe is going to kind of set it up where you're going to be the one out there doing it, because it's the doing it, it's the moving the energy, it's creation. You know, it's creating something, it's creating new grass, it's taking all this old stuff and revamping it into something else. It's being creative with what you have. It's not wasting. It's a lot of things that go into that, you know. It's the not taking it for granted, to looking and going, well, that could get thrown away, or I could just completely redo it. Let me just completely redo it. And then you get excited about that process. I also spent a lot of the year revamping my tarot card deck I'd done years ago, and I'm going to put it on a digital platform, and I'm going to put it in a totally different, I kind of raise the vibration of those from where they were in the beginning, because it was time to upgrade those two. Because now we're at a different place in general, where you can go back, and sometimes you'll go back and feel the need to revamp something. Shift the vibration of it. That's why your website's going to get changed lots of times, because the vibration will feel off. You're like, oh, I can't keep putting this out because this is no longer where I am. I have to shift it all. So when we start to look hindsight, there is a reason I say hindsight's 2020. Your consciousness is always going to be higher than it was before, right? Even if it's implement. Teeny tiny bits, right? Now, when you're in your human consciousness, you might have to look back 10 years and now understand something that happened 10 years ago, right? Because you don't tick up that much, that fast. But when you're in your ascended consciousness, it's a totally different story. You know, you can look back over a couple of months and see it completely why it was the way it was, because you're now at a higher consciousness. Your body's at a different consciousness to be able to see what you were doing all that time, right? Because you're kind of looking back on it and you understand it. It was a flow to it. There's a reason for it. And a lot of the year, you might find a lot of the year, and you also probably have a lot of physical upgrades sprinkled in a lot of those years too. I had a couple of the big ones this year for that. You can kind of start to understand that it's so different from your human journey and your human consciousness and what you're doing and how you value it. And you really start to struggle with the journey when we try to measure it against a human standard and a human expectation, and what our ego wants to be doing, someone else is going to look at and go, oh, what did you do? What did you do this year? You know, why is it more important for you to go out and, redo all this stuff outside instead of putting out more content or doing other classes? It just is. Because it has to support your vibration. Like I said, that's always going to be paramount. Your universe is going to always put that first for you. Everything else is secondary. You get done that year. Whatever is going to support your vibration the most, and it might be one year it is doing a lot of content and sharing and doing classes. because you have to get that stuff out. You have to get that stuff out. It's easier to get yourself out there. You know, a lot of us in the ascension groups will say, it's time to get ourselves out there. Let's go. You know, let's get out there. And that's what we were doing. You know, it might be, I had many years like that, whether I was doing videos or started out with writings and then videos and then streaming and then kind of a mix of both. You were getting, and I did a couple years where I just drew. And what later would become my tarot card deck, but I took years and just drew, and I didn't draw on a computer. I was drawing on a piece of paper. I would do the design, then I color the design in or paint the design in or whatever. All just to be creating, because your soul can't not create. It's got to be doing something. And if it's not the year for what would look like a typical thing you should be doing from your human standard, it's going to be doing something else to create. It can't not create. It's always got to be doing that. So when you start to look back on your year and you start to look back on what was the focus, and you will probably see that some of the harshest moments for you would be when you were trying to make it something it wasn't. And that is a big theme in Ascension. Trying to make it what we want it to be and not what it is. What is in front of us. You know, what do we have to do? What can we do? What do we have the energy to do? And that means the money and the time to do right now. What is that? You know, what is that? What can I do? In our human consciousness, if we couldn't do what we wanted to do, we would just sit around and not do anything, right? We'd sulk like children, like, oh, I can't do what I want to do. Fuck that, I just won't do anything then. I'll just sit here and be mad. And you might do that for a few times. And then your universe will kick you in the butt on that one way or the other. And you realize, oh wait, I can get out and do something. What do I have the time to do? Well, I have the time to do all this stuff outside. That's what I'll do. I mean, I was rocking I usually have a pretty good, you know, I get a lot of color in the summertime, but I had a lot of color this year in the summer because I was out all the time. And we're also learning. We're learning to reconnect with everything around us. And you can just feel the vibration of stuff. Or look what you felt really drawn to do this year and you didn't do it. Because that's going to come back. You know, it's going to come back around. You're going to have to do it one way or the other. Maybe you have to do it under a lot of pressure. You know, what are the themes that keep coming back? I know one theme that one program I keep working through is in vibrational realities, you can't really rush anymore. Okay, everything has to be spaced out. You have to have a lot of time to do something, and you can't do things back to back to back to back to back to back. And a couple of times I tried that, and the time would always collapse on me because I would try to go really, really fast, right? And we go really, really slow inside normally, but we can still move fast, but we're going slow. And when I would try to speed up, everything gets sucked. It's like time just sucks in and just collapses on top of you. And I had that happen a few times this year. And I'm like, oh, I can't believe I haven't learned that yet. You know, I haven't learned that. Oops, I did it again. You know, that Britney Spears song. Oops, I did it again. I did it again. And how many times do I have to learn? Just, you can't do that anymore. You know, if I've got something to do at 11 o'clock in the morning, probably have to just be preparing for that as of 6 a.m. in the morning. And if I don't have anything to do to late afternoon, I can probably go and do other stuff in the morning. But I can't schedule back to back. But as humans, we did. And these are just the kind of little things you'll learn. So as you go back and revisit, like I said, we're kind of starting to put a pin in 2025. You're gonna start to see where 2026 is carrying you, what you're gonna have to be doing. You might see the end of some relationships that are coming. You might have seen some of those cracks in that relationship in one way or the other. I'm going to call it a crack, or maybe it's just splitting apart of the frequency, and you can see that they're not going to be holding in your next reality. You might have started to see that in the summer. I saw some of that in the summertime with some people that I could see, like, okay, it was kind of just, it's also starting to break the cords of attachment you have to that person, that relationship, that reality, is when you start to see, oh, it's already weakening a little bit, you know, or I can see that they're not going to be here for the next one, or by the time we have boots on the ground in 2026, they probably will be gone, one way or the other. You know, you can just start to see that, and you can start to see, like, you can start to see the splitting and the splitting off, and they're going to go do something else, and you're going to go do something else. be conscious of those things. This is your universe's way of trying to assist you, and you can look at it and go, at the time I didn't realize that it was trying to break my cord of attachment to that. It was trying to help me work through the grief of that early. That's why a lot of times we have heads up on a lot of stuff coming before it comes. And in the beginning, you might just get it in your dreams a lot. A lot of stuff is going to be coming, and some stuff might make you feel sad, and it may bring up a lot of sadness to clear, and that's what's in the way of your body getting to the next vibration. Consciousness and ascension is being aware of what you're doing. How are you today? Not just what's going on outside. No one cares about that, in a sense. How are you doing? What's going on inside? How am I doing today? What do I want to do today? What does my human want to do today that I know is not really possible to do today for one reason or the other? It's just the energy is not going to work that way today. You want to be open. You want to be aware, and you want to pick up on the clues. You kind of got to be, I took a lot of dream work from dream classes, dream books from Robert Moss. And there's one thing he said in all of his books, and he would say, be a dream archaeologist, get in there and dig around, see what's going on. And that's what you have to be in Ascension, and you have to be when you're decoding your year, and it's like the Da Vinci Code. You're going to decode your year. You're going to start to try to figure out, what was it about? Where were my tip-offs that was what it was going to be about this year? Where did I fight it? And where did I want to try to be doing something else? And what clues did I have in the summer of what's going to happen in the next year? They're all there. They're all there. You just got to get in there. If you can't see it right away, get in there and start looking. Get in there and dig around. Start opening your mind up, seeing what has happened. Where am I going? Maybe you got a flyer for some new some house that you might want to buy. I'm just going to make this up because I've already given some of mine, or I'll have to tell you on the back end of how some of my realities are going to end up in 2026. It wouldn't be appropriate right now because they involve a lot of other people to talk about it now. And all of a sudden you say, oh, that house, they're fixing that house up. That's interesting. Maybe that house is going to go up for sale. Maybe it's going to go up for rent. Maybe someone else is going to move in that house. It's going to be important for your 2026. You will have the clues. It's all there because your template, it's all the was that all the devil's in the details? Ascension's in the details too, in a sense. What are all the details going on? What is going on? And usually you don't even have to dig that deep, to be honest. It's kind of surface level. A lot of the big stuff that starts happening, you're like, oh, that person is leaving, or that person seems interested in doing this, or this job looks like it might be ending, or I have this feeling that it's probably not going to last, or I'm going to finish this project and then blah, blah, blah. You will know. Sometimes we know, like I said, usually by the end of summer you have a really good idea. Sometimes it'll start by then. I mean, normally for me, and what you see is when you start to see it, when you start to see the stuff come in, and like I said, normally for me it's around summer for the next year. I touched on it before. It's helping you break the cords, and it's helping you see your resistance to what's going to happen next year. Where is my resistance to that? And sometimes it might not be internal resistance. Sometimes it could be just other people don't want you to change something, or don't want you to shift anything, or they don't want to assist you, and you have to work through, I got to do I'm going to have to do all this on my own, and I got to be okay with doing it on my own. Because a lot of this, we can't really ask for help. If someone's not there and doesn't want to help us, we can't drag people in. That's what humans do. Humans drag people into their reality to assist them, and then when they don't need assistance, they kind of they don't really care. If someone's not in our reality and offers assistance, we really can't go out and ask for assistance. We can't ask for that. It's just kind of a part of what we understand. If they're there to assist, they'll be there. And if they're not there, we can't go drag someone else in here, because that's not what we do. That's not how we act. So, because the whole thing is, if they wanted to be there, they'd be there. If they're not there, the vibration is not right. They're not aligned to be there. So if us bringing them in, we've now messed up the alignment of what we're trying to do. We're not gonna have the product we would like, because we've kind of tainted it in a sense. We've now made that reality a karmic reality because we're trying to control it and bring our lack in, and our need of what we want it to be, who we want to be in it. We want to place all these people on the chessboard, And, maybe we need to move those people off the board. But we were attached to them, so we don't want to. So you start to see your resistance to it. And that's really why it starts coming up, because your universe is trying to break down the resistance to bring forth that reality. You're the one holding it back. We're the ones that hold that reality back. We have resistance. We don't know we have that. That's why we get the previews. It's to break down the resistance, because you might say, oh, what if that did happen? Oh, I don't like that. Ugh, I feel sick about that, or that makes me sad, or I'm scared about that, or whatever it is. And we got to work through that before that reality can come online. We are always what's causing it to not come. It's always us. It's so different than human consciousness, where we want to blame everybody else. In ascended consciousness and higher consciousness, we are what slows it down. We want it a certain way, we want it a certain time, or we don't like how it has to come in and who can't be there when it does. So, all right, I think that gives you guys enough to kind of chew on and keep practicing the art of intuition.